move over to our Kraken, who, since the All-Star break things didn't look so good. They had a rough month of February. They probably should have won that game against Boston here in Seattle. It was a tough one. They are the best team in the league, so I'm not stressed about it. I saw more positive than negative in that game, quite honestly. But anyway, they went on a 4-game road trip that, it wasn't a walk in the park, but it wasn't exactly just an easy thing to do. Oh, pretty cool. Sorry, this is tough when you got 8 teams to worry about. There's all this news going around. 4-game road trip, and they went 4-0 over the course of that 4-game road trip. So we'll look at it here. On February 28th at the St. Louis Blues, a 5-3 win in St. Louis. Our first player of the game forward, Morgan Geekie, 2 goals, 2 points, 1 plus minus, 2 shots, and 2 blocks. His first multi-goal game as a Kraken. And then our second player of the game forward, Eli Tolvanen, 3 assists, 3 points, 3 plus minus, 1 shot, 1 hit, 2 blocks. A real stat stuffer game there for Eel. 3 assists. That's a big deal. And a 3 plus minus too, to maintain that value while you're on the ice. It was also Vince Dunn's 400th career game in the NHL, fitting to do so against his former team in St. Louis. March 2nd at the Detroit Red Wings. Red Wings, the first game of a back-to-back. The Kraken won that one 5-4 in overtime. That was a tough game considering that Seattle really looked like the better team by far, and they just effectively left the door open for Detroit to come back. Our player of the game forward, Jared McCann. McCann, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, a 3 plus minus, 5 shots, and 1 takeaway. Nice 2-goal performance there from McCann as Oliver Bjorkstrand gets the game-winning goal in overtime. On March 3rd, in the second game of that back-to-back, when they played the Columbus Blue Jackets. What is all this? There's so much stuff going on. A 4-2 win. Our player of the game forward, Alex Wenberg, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points, a 2 plus minus, 1 shot, 2 hits, and 1 takeaway for the Kraken there. Brandon Tanev getting the late empty net goal to put that one away. Also, Jared McCann becomes the team's first 30-goal scorer ever in franchise history in that win over Columbus. And then March 5th at the Colorado Avalanche. This one was a tough one going into the final period. It seemed like the Kraken were not going to be able to pull this one through. But late into that one, I believe around 3 minutes left, Brandon Tanev gets the tying goal. And then in overtime, Yanni Gourde gets the game winner. Seattle wins that one 3-2 in overtime. Our player of the game forward, Jaden Schwartz, 2 assists, 2 points, a 1 plus minus, 1 hit, and 1 takeaway. This was... Well, before I get to talking about that road trip, we'll go to our player of the week here. I thought it was obvious considering the achievement that I mentioned. My player of the week is for Jared McCann. Canner, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points, a 6 plus minus, 17 shots, 1 hit, and 2 blocks over the course of those 4 games. And he becomes the first player in Kraken history to score 30 goals in one season. And obviously that's counting. So a nice season already mounting for Jared McCann there. Please do note that Jared signed a 5-year extension last year. So Canada already really becoming a team legend in every sense. So a pretty solid week for the Kraken. A 4-game sweep. I believe it was, I think Allison Lukine said it was the third or fourth road trip that they've swept. I want to say 4th. I want to go with the optimistic side and say 4th, but this was a good road trip. Obviously, you look at St. Louis, you look at these teams. Detroit has seen a surge in recent weeks. St. Louis traded obviously Ryan O'Reilly getting traded. St. Louis has struggled a bit. Columbus, they're doing what they can out there in Columbus. And Colorado is a team that also, after stumbling a little bit in the beginning of the season, dealing with a lot of injuries, and I believe they're still dealing with injury. Colorado really made it tough for Seattle, and they beat Seattle in Seattle in February, I believe. I think it was January, actually. Yeah, I think it was January. So point being, it wasn't an easy road trip, right? And so Seattle, considering the race that they're in the Pacific Division, considering how critically important every single point is from them now, with I believe 18 games left in the regular season, it's going to be a ride. It's going to be a really tight ride. Um, and they stayed put at the deadline, and that's what I wanted to talk about here. Is some crapshoot podcast. Well, we'll go over the rumors first. There were rumors that the team was interested in Anaheim Ducks defenseman John Klingberg, as well as Philadelphia's James Van Riemsdyk. Seattle did not make any moves. There was nothing that leaked out over the deadline. Seattle stayed put, and Ron Francis, in his press conference with the media immediately following the deadline ending, basically reiterated that, we're happy with this group. We think they've earned the chance to compete for the playoffs as a singular unit and not mess up any of that, and they're going to let them do that. And, just considering everything, I know he mentioned, he was like, oh, well, we added Megna, we added Burkowski in the summer, and talked about the summer. And, I still excuse me. Yeah, I still think that you can add a defenseman. That's probably going to be in the offseason, to push one of the few guys out in those top three deep pairings, or maybe it's someone that's in Coachella Valley right now. But I think anything that you would have gotten this year, whatever you would have had to give up would have been too much, and it wouldn't have made sense to give up that much for a rental, as Ron Francis stated. And I think Ron Francis knows a thing or two about hockey and what he's doing, considering where that Hurricanes organization is right now because of the way that Francis set that up. Anyway, it just wouldn't make sense. And considering the chemistry that this team has, the way that they fight for each other, why would you want to take that nice recipe that you've got and add an unknown component to it? I don't want to add things I don't know into the food that I'm eating personally, So there was anyway. This is where I get to that point with that crapshoot podcast talking about we could have added a goalie or goaltending, eye test, all that crap. The goaltending is not the problem here. Martin Jones is a problem. I won't say he's not a problem. He's gotten considerably worse over the past few weeks. But if you're talking about Philipp Grubauer, I don't know what you're looking at anymore. I said this to a few friends I was with last night watching the game at Rough and Tumble. You don't have Philipp Grubauer in that game, you don't win that game. Obviously 2 goals against, whatever. He since the year of 2023 has begun, you could look at the Boston game, sure. And there were some dumb comments even from folks who were up on the press bridge. It's like, oh, they should have started Jones because of the way he played against Boston. That just doesn't make sense to me anyway. Philipp Grubauer is not the problem. We talk about eye test. Maybe I have glasses, right? And I don't know what eye test you're looking at. You know what I mean? I was told to be more authentic. So if you're scared of the toot in my voice, you're going to have to deal with it. You look at some of the times where Seattle is leaving defenders, opponents right in the crease and not giving them any resistance, and it leads into a tip in, or they're able to just kind of live in that high danger area without resistance from the defenseman of Seattle. That's a problem. And that's always been a problem, whether it's also turnovers in your own trapezoid, let alone your own defensive zone, turnovers at the blue line, stuff like you're putting your goalies in bad position. And I could say that about Martin Jones when he wasn't playing horrible when he wasn't, having free viewing lanes to pucks and rebound control and all that sort of thing. But anyway, I just had to, you want to be a source for news. You want to be somewhere that people want to go and actually listen to you talk. Why would you, one, just be negative all the time, as a friend of mine mentioned, but two, just be completely wrong about things? Anyway, we'll move on here to look at the upcoming games for our Kraken. They sit at a 36 win, 21 loss, 6 overtime loss record. They sit at third place in the Pacific Division at 78 points on the year. Looking ahead over the course of the next week, they play 3 games at home. The first being tomorrow, Tuesday the 7th, versus the Anaheim Ducks at 7 p.m. Pacific time. The next one, March 9th versus the Ottawa Senators at 7 o'clock. And then March 11th versus the Dallas Stars at 7 o'clock. Some tough ones there. You got a divisional matchup against Ducks team that struggled this year. Ottawa making a big splash, obviously, with their trade their trade with Arizona before the deadline, and some talent on that Ottawa roster. And then the Dallas Stars come to town playing Dallas for the first time. Dallas, one of the better teams in the Western Conference as well. So that will not be easy.